motivation for this one here? Or?
Yeah, I think, as motivating as a midseason game can be against your rivals in the Rose Bowl, sounds pretty good to me, Whenever you play a game inside of like the Rose Bowl or a stadium like the Rose Bowl, it feels like it has an added magnitude to it. The crowd will be bigger, the crowd will be more involved. It sounds like the crowd will be pretty Galaxy fans, so looking forward and excited to that. But with both teams being at the top, then it really feels like there's a kind of a special occasion to try to be the sole team at the top of the West at the end of the night. So, a lot of motivation inside of this game. Also, this is one of the few games that we lost earlier in the year that we want to also show our progress in the season and step out and have a good performance, get a good result.
You guys been dealing with Puig for a while now. Here comes Puig, who's having a
Sure.
form there. How does he add to their attack, and how does that affect your preparation for you?
Well, I think just both guys are really in form, and both guys are doing things at a high speed, which makes them difficult to deal with. Bogusz, a little bit different player, obviously, than Bouanga, the way he goes about things. But again, just when you're dealing with attacking players that have as much confidence as these two have, then it's a handful. We've got to be. The formula is one where we have to be really disciplined about our positions when we're in attack, to make sure that we're also mindful of the defending in transition. That's one of the areas I feel like they're as good as anyone in the league in terms of the speed and the power and that they have in open space and in transition. In the attacking, the set attacking, they have some nice movements that we've got to make sure that we're accounting for those guys, but other guys who are on the field that are good players too. So we've got to minimize their looks. We've got to minimize the amount of times that they can get into transition, into speed, and we've got to be able to get close enough to these guys that they don't get free looks at goal. It's always a little bit easier said than done than with Bouanga. We've got to get help to whoever's defending him one-on-one. We've got to get a help defender there so that we can try to not allow him to do whatever he wants. We've got to try to force him into positions that he doesn't really want to necessarily go into. So just a lot of collective work. We don't want to get separated as a group. We got to make sure that we also stay connected as a group.
You guys have done a good job of that lately, just collectively staying tighter. How does their attack affect what you guys have to try to do on that end?
Yeah, again, I think, when they're able to get the ball beyond that first line of pressure or in transition break that initial pressure, just the speed at which they will then take and the directness that they'll take the game once they break that initial pressure is a little bit different than most of the teams that you encounter. So we've got to make sure that if they do break the pressure, it can't then lead to them driving forward or building speed forward or that the next pass goes forward. We've got to minimize those moments because then they can really get your back group separated from your front group. We've got to be selective about the moments that we actually are trying to press and make sure that when we are pressing that we're all collectively together and pressing, that we're not a small group of people trying to press and then another group worried about the things behind us. We've got to make sure that again, we're connected back to front, but we're also connected from side to side. So they challenge you in that ways just because of the directness and the speed that they have at the top of the field. And with Kai, he gives them a different element. He's a target guy who can finish in the box in the air, they can play a little more direct through if they need to. When we first played him, Bogusz played as the 9. He played it different because he almost dropped down and created another number in the midfield. So depending on how they start things off, they can show something a little bit different in terms of the tactical side of things. So we'll see which route they go.
Let's go with Alex.
Hey Greg, if I could maybe get updates on Gaston, maybe Joseph, he's feeling any better, Julian, and Johnny. Thank you.
Yeah, Gaston is not going to be ready for this weekend. Johnny not ready for this weekend. He's making good progress. Gaston is actually away doing two things. One, finalizing his green card. Second, he's also working through his return to play stuff. So he's got a couple of things that we're pushing him through at this moment, but he's not going to be available. He's not physically ready just yet anyways. Johnny's, like I said, making good progress and is in return to play, but not ready for this weekend. The other two guys are ready to go.
Yeah, and guys are getting Ricky Puig back. Just how important is it to, I wouldn't say make him fit in the system because he's Ricky Puig, but you want to see maybe a bit more discipline tactically from him in this game, I assume.
I think, look, there's always a balance between allowing Ricky to do what Ricky can do, but also Ricky and the group being a little bit, just certain as to the predictability of what's going to happen, right? Ricky has a wonderful way of being sometimes unpredictable for the opposition, which is great because he's so hard to deal with individually. But at the same time, it's just trying to maintain a level of predictability for each other and for his teammates so that they can help him. And I thought he was excellent, and I thought he did a really good job of that in San Jose. We found him in really good spots, and he had a high impact on the game in 30 minutes. And so. Again, finding the balance inside of the game where you give him some of that space to be his creative self and to do the things that he does, but at the same time, we want to try to stay structurally as consistent in a way as we can, because I think it helps to solidify each other guy's role on the team and how they can help. So I think we've done that in the first half of the season. There's just moments where we become, I think, a little bit over-dependent on Ricky, and we've just got to be careful as a collective group that we don't become over-dependent on him, that we try to get the most out of each player there, that we don't, that we as a group on the field don't start deferring to every situation. But getting Ricky on the ball is going to help us. It's just about trying to find him in the best possible places to create havoc for the opposition. And I thought he was really, really good in San Jose, and we found him in really good spots. And again, in 30 minutes, you saw what impact he can have on the game.
Next, we'll go to Andy.
Greg, last year you talked about the importance of the Rose Bowl for you personally, obviously for some of the coaches as the former players. I'm interested to know what that energy is like leading up for the team now that you have a new group of players and how that's kind of been leading up to the game.
Yeah, to be honest, today is the first day that I felt like specific to this game and the Rose Bowl and everything else, that the group really felt the energy of what's right in front of them. I think the guys have done a really good job of staying focused on San Jose, which was just a couple days ago leading into that game, and not looking beyond San Jose and at this game. I think yesterday was a turnaround day for the guys. The guys who played a lot were still physically kind of transitioning to be ready. But today I felt like the energy was there. Guys were really excited about it. It's a special venue. The Rose Bowl is the Rose Bowl. It's one of the greatest stadiums in the world. The field is immaculate. The guys have a great memory of being there last year with the crowd and the performance. The new guys, I think, are excited about it because I know they've heard about it, and some of them have witnessed a bit of what last year was like. So I just think everyone is just excited. Obviously, we're playing LAFC, which always gets everybody, motivated as well. So I think just the feel of the magnitude is a special night. At the end of the day, it's a middle of the season game, but we're both there playing for the top of the table, and in a game that's just going to have a little bit more of a. I think it'll have more of a playoff feel or big game feel than just your average everyday middle of the season fixture, much less fixture against your rival.
And next we'll go to Joe Reedy.
Greg, what do you feel is the biggest difference or improvements in your club since the first time you took on LAFC?
Well, I think a number of things. I think when starting at the back, we had Edwin Cerrillo was playing right center back on the day because of where we were in terms of our defensive line. So we will start two center backs in the center back position on Thursday, which will be nice. The guys will start to play a little bit more of their positions than maybe a touch in that game. I don't think that was the major difference, but I think just guys being solidified in their roles will be a little bit clearer. Second is I think some of our guys from Mickey to Gabe to Joe have more experience in the league now than they did in the whatever it was, game 4 or whatever it was. They have a lot more experience. The group has more continuity. When Joe and Gabe arrived, it was the very end of preseason. I'm not even sure if either of them played a preseason game. So, they were still in their first 3 or 4 games with this group of players. So again, just more continuity, more familiarity, guys more in their roles than last time, and we've grown as a group. We've grown as a group in terms of understanding what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, and how we want to try to keep the game as much as we possibly can inside of our strengths.
How much momentum, too, just with the injuries that you guys have had the last month, with Ricky missing time and everything, does this give this group that, with some of your top players out, you're able to still be on the run that you're on?
Well, I think it's been great. Like, Diego stepped in and it was outstanding when Ricky was away. He gave us just a good veteran guy who knows the league. Kind of just played his role at a high level. He's a really cerebral player, so he plugged in, and it was a plug and play into the system. And I really felt like he did a great job of holding down the fort and even better helping us to get results through that. We were able to, Joe is another one who was coming back from injury and being able to integrate him. I thought Johnny, in Joe's absence, had 2 or 3 really solid games, and Mauricio has come on as a winger, which he isn't, and played really well in his spells. So I think just guys kind of stepping up and fulfilling responsibilities. With Gaston out, Eddie again has reestablished himself, which we saw at the beginning of the season, as again another guy who can really do a job and be an excellent player inside the midfield. So I think guys have stepped up, which has shown some of our depth, and really helped our team to kind of function in a positive way during their absence, which gave those guys maybe a little more time that we could really try to get them to the best possible place for their return. And now they're plugging back in and are ready to go. And we have access to a lot of guys on our roster. Only Gaston and Johnny really are the two that unfortunately won't be able to participate.
And we have one last question for Edward Kajic.
Hi, Greg. Thank you for doing this. Greg, how much are you enjoying this season due to the positive results, the way the team is playing? How much are you enjoying these big games, being at the top of the table instead of struggling for results?
Yeah, well, listen, last year we've put in the bag in a bad way, a special year. It was a perfect storm of challenges that existed, all well documented, which were just emotionally difficult for everyone around here. And so, we really tried to flip the switch at the beginning of the season as we kind of rebuilt parts of this team and got off to a good start, which was important for us, and just trying to build momentum and now piece this collective group of players together to be the best version of this group that we can be. We like our pieces. We think our puzzle, fits together nicely in terms of what each guy brings to the table for us. We have some versatility inside of that. We're seeing some of our young players continue to develop and grow inside of the training environment and also the game environment. And so I'm enjoying it because I feel like we're talking about details and we're talking about things that are going to help us, I think, to be a contender for a championship or a contender for a trophy. And so that's different than last year when we were talking about just plugging holes and trying to figure out how to stop the boat from continuing to sink in really challenging moments with lots of injuries and lots of other things. So the dialogue has changed. Last year I just never really felt like we had too many discussions about details because we were just so busy dealing with like big things and so we couldn't even get to the little things. So I'm enjoying it. I enjoy this group and their desire to want to go out and compete and the work that they've put in and the qualities that each guy brings to the table.
Greg, I have one more question for you,
Sure.
and it's about Copa America. You play for the national team, and you're a big name in U.S. soccer. How frustrating is to see the U.S. national team not being able to get out of that group play in Copa America?
Yeah, it's disappointing. I mean, I do believe that we have a really strong player pool. I do believe that we've got depth in our group. The funny thing and the tricky thing about tournaments, whether it's a Copa America, a Gold Cup, a World Cup, and specifically Copa America and a World Cup, is the margins are just so thin. You know, they're so thin, and you got to get your tactics right. You got to get your approach right. But also, you can't have brain farts. You know, players have to play with an incredible amount of discipline. You don't want to be putting yourself in games that you must win down, man. That's just can't happen, right? Because again, the lines are so fine in this. You've got to go against. You know, you put yourself now where your toughest game is against Uruguay. You knew that going into the tournament, and because of some of the challenges that maybe existed in game 1 and 2, specifically 2, you put yourself in a position you have to win against one of the best defending teams in the world, and that's always gonna be a challenge. Then you really got to execute, and you really got to get the tactics right, and guys got to deliver. So I think we have quality. I think we are a team that is in a country that is definitely on the upswing and can really compete with anyone in the world, but we've got to get over the hump where we can win those games, and it comes down to details, and it comes down to execution, and just really kind of each guy from Greg, and he knows this, down to every player on the field. It has to be just for me a higher level of maturity against these teams that are extremely competitively mature, like a Uruguay. There's no room for errors, and we lost to Panama, and not to say we wouldn't lose the game, but we made the game a lot more difficult for ourselves with an individual lack of discipline moment, and that made it a lot more difficult. So I'm still bullish on where this team is at and where the group of players can be over the next 2 years. But we've got to mature, and we've got to turn a group that has quality into a group that really has the steel and the know-how to win games and win big games, not just be a good collective group of players on the field, but really be relentless about how they go about winning games.
Great. Thanks for your time,
All right,
Greg.
thank you.
Greg.
Yep.